What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of Eastern Current, an episode that we've tried to record multiple times and we keep having technical difficulties. So hopefully this will be the episode that y'all are hearing. Don't really have all the kinks worked out at the new house, and so just trying to get the audio right. I know in the last episode the audio was a little off. My mic was a good bit louder than the guest mic, and so I really wanted to have that good. We recorded this episode last night, and I went back to listen to it before uploading it, and there was an echo on everything that the guy I have once was saying, and it was good stuff. It was good to hear twice, but it was a little annoying to listen to it back, like it sounded like you were echoing down the hallway. So we're going to try it again tonight. We just did a bunch of test recordings. It sounds good. We're going to get right into it after I share with y'all the sponsors of this show. First off is J&J Boat Detailing, just a great full boat service and detailing company. They're located here in the greater Wilmington, North Carolina area, and just do an incredible job. They can come to your boat on the lift, on a slip. They have a dive crew that can go underneath the boat, clean the bottom of the boat, in the water, out of the water as well. But just full service, every little nook and cranny of your boat, fully cleaned out, waxed, buffed and waxed, and really, really detailed well. They just did my boats, didn't miss a single spot, cleaner than I've ever had them done before. So I cannot recommend them enough. Second off is T&L Table Company. They've built my wife and I's new dining room table, which I'm sitting at hopefully not too much longer for this podcast, but on the new podcast table they built us, it's sitting out in the garage once I get the shop set up and ready for that and get a little AC in there, because Lord knows it's a little too hot to sit out there and do a podcast right now. But two great sponsors. Definitely check them out. T&L Table Company can do any type of custom woodworking that you need done. Just a really awesome dude from Sneed that lives up in Sneeds Ferry. And I will have J&J Boat Detailing and T&L Table Company information in the show notes and in the YouTube description. The YouTube description. But it might be the fastest I've ever gotten the pre-show stuff out of the way. I've had some practice here. But I'm going to go ahead and bring on our guest, Mr. Steve Griffin. What's up, man?
What's going on, man?
I'm just fingers crossed praying that I don't go back to listen to this and it's a bunch of reverb. I don't even know what you call it, but it was weird. I've never had it do that before. I've had a lot of issues with this, but never had that.
That was funny sounding.
It was funny sounding.
I'm having a good time.
I'm having a good time too, man. And now we know each other well. We can kind of banter back and forth a little bit more, and this will be the best that we can possibly do. I mean, we've had practice. We're ready to rock and roll. So
absolutely.
I know now, but the people listening don't know your backstory. So kind of share how you got into fishing, how it's brought you to where you are now, and a little bit about your business.
Yeah, so I really don't have your typical how I got into guiding fishing story. I really, at first when I was younger, I really didn't like fishing. And that's because of the way I was introduced to fishing. Here in the Chesapeake Bay, everybody thinks you got to troll 50 rods and go out and just sit around. It's really boring, especially for a kid.
Right.
So I was kind of turned off by fishing back then, and that brings me full circle. I did stream restoration and environmental construction my whole life, and I did a project up in the mountains, and ended up getting a fishing rod from Walmart and going and doing some trout fishing, and realized, hey, I can catch fish with these little lures, and it's a ton of fun. So then my wife and I got really big into that. My wife and I bought a house that was right on the water. The neighborhood had a marina, and I was just looking at all the boats every day out there fishing as I got home from work, and I said, I got to get a boat. I got to get a boat. Let's go fishing.
Boat fever.
I bought all the trolling gear, what everybody does around here, and went out, and I caught some huge fish, some 40-plus stripers, and just didn't do it for me. My buddy said, hey, let's try this. Let's try going out and doing light tackle, basically using bass gear to go out and catch stripers. And I caught my first probably 17-inch striper, or rockfish is what we call them here. And it was so much better and sweeter than those 40-inch rockfish I reeled in that felt like a 5-gallon bucket.
Right.
So it clicked, man, and ever since then I was obsessed. I was fishing every day after work, every chance I got, and really figured out the light tackle thing, and then got into other species. Started. When I get into something, I dive in deep, 150%, and that's what I did. Figured it out pretty good. Started getting some questions. People wanted to go fishing with me, and here I am.
It's a cool story, man. I love, and I shared this last night when we tried to record this, but I love hearing everybody's different story of how they got into it. And I said this as well, just kind of realizing the different unique moments that captured people. Like you said, standing up in a trout stream. And I think anybody, man, in that trout stream scenario, it's hard not to love that. I don't care if you like fish or not, but just standing there, small creek or river, moving water, it's just beautiful in general. And then to catch some of those beautiful trout, you're like, they live in this shallow, fast water. It's crazy. It's definitely something that's very, very interesting and unique that I feel like can, attract a lot of people. I feel like you see a lot of lady anglers, getting into the fly fishing world more too. Like people that, and not that ladies don't fish, not that women don't fish, but I feel like it just proves that it attracts more people than maybe like, going out there and smoking cigarettes and trolling for Spanish mackerel down here or for stripers up there. It's not that you have to smoke cigarettes to troll, but I guess I'm playing into a cliche, but that's a cool story, man. Have you looked back at all since you made the jump from, working in the workforce to full-time guiding?
Yeah. So I'll go into that a little bit more. My dad it's always been hard to make that leap, right? When's the right time? And I've always wanted to. My dad always pushed me to do it. And about 2.5 years ago, we had a couple tragedies. My wife lost her father, and then not even a year and a half later, I lost mine. And they both were within a year of retiring and have been planning their retirement, worked their butts off their entire life, never got to enjoy. So I kind of looked at my wife and said, I got to do this. My dad's been pushing me to do it. I got to just do it. Life's short. You never know. And something I've always been passionate about and wanting to do. So I decided to do sort of a soft launch. And, I put myself out there, said, if it gets to the point where I'm missing so much work and to go fishing and take clients out, then I'll quit my job. And that time came a lot faster than I expected. So
That's awesome.
I dove in head first, man. 2 feet, whatever you want to call it. Here I am.
It depends if you're a diver or you're more of just like a pencil guy. Just jump in, pencil. I would say I used to be able to dive, and now I probably need to do a pencil.
I'm going straight cannonball.
Straight cannonball, man. That's awesome. That's super cool, and just an encouragement to hopefully some people out there that might be listening, that whether it's becoming a fishing guide or just doing something you're passionate about, life's short, and I feel like it's important to chase what you're passionate about, not in a selfish way, but just in a way that you live a life that's fulfilling. And I feel like you bring more joy to others when you're doing something that brings you joy. You know what I mean? So
absolutely.
People that are pissed off at their job don't usually do anything but piss other people off.
No, everybody picks up on your vibe for sure.
Definitely.
And just being good to people and showing a good experience and having fun, it's worked.
Definitely. Well, let's talk a little bit about your fishery, where you're located. I feel like most people that picture the Chesapeake Bay are kind of thinking of that Bay Bridge Tunnel area, at least from where I am, that Bay Bridge Tunnel area and the lower Chesapeake, and don't really realize how great and large that water is, and that a lot of the fish that people think are maybe only in like the northern reaches of North Carolina and like the southern part of Virginia are actually all the way up there where you are in good numbers and very targetable ways.
Absolutely. So I kind of break the Chesapeake Bay down in 3 sections. We got Upper Bay, Mid Bay, and then the Lower Bay, which I would say the Virginia line and south, out to the tunnel. And yeah, the tunnel gets a lot of people see that place because there's a lot of big fish there. Cobia fishing's great, but a lot of people don't know I'm in the Middle Bay, which is I fish pretty much. Baltimore's about as far north as I'll go, down into Virginia every once in a while. And a lot of people don't realize that we do get a lot of the fun migrating fish up our way. Obviously, stripers are a big thing, but Bull Reds, they're getting better every year.
Okay.
And I'm getting them in Maryland. Cobia, we got them up here. Spanish mackerel, bluefish, we get it all.
That's super cool. So where you are in the bay, can you see from one side to the other and everywhere you're fishing? So it's choked down. What would you say is an average mileage across from one side to the other where you are in the bay?
Probably, it really actually varies a lot where we're at. And it's choked up at the Chesapeake Bay Bridge in Annapolis. Is probably about the narrowest spot. It's really a choke point where we have high currents. And that's 3 miles. So, and then it opens up. There are the islands, but to get from really the western shore to the eastern shore could be 10 miles.
Gotcha. Heck yeah. Okay, so you don't feel like you're out in the middle of the ocean, but you definitely feel offshore in a sense.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's big water down there.
Yeah, and I think that plays into a little bit of the boat, the boat choice that you've got. I know we talked about it last night. I need to stop saying that because no one else cares that we talked about it last night, just you and I. I know we talked about it last night, but running a bigger boat like a Sea Hunter, why is that a good boat choice for you? Why do you like that boat, and kind of how does it help set you up for quality fishing?
So I can, what I could do in a 19-foot Maycraft, but when I decided I was going to do this, I wanted my clients to be comfortable. I wanted to provide a great experience. And to me, getting your kidneys beat out and getting soaking wet is not a great experience. And the Chesapeake Bay it's known for, it can go from dead flat, slick calm to 4-foot chop, and that's a really tight chop that just beats the living crap out of you. Yeah. And it can do that in minutes. I've seen it. It's scary. So I wanted to have safety is a big concern, and then just comfort.
For sure.
The other thing with that boat, it's very versatile. It's huge. It's 28 foot long, 10-foot beam, and I can fish 360 around it. 6 people slinging lures on it, no problem at all.
Yeah, that's awesome. And the T-top on that, you've got a tower on it. Is the T-top smaller? And on a 28-foot boat, it's so different. I ran a Jones Brothers with a tower on it for a little while, and I built out my top. And the one thing that I regretted, and it was a much narrower, much smaller boat, but was the fact that I could not fish lures well with people. I really could only fish 2 people. I could have one person on the bow, one person on the back, and then like a third person, maybe leaning up against the tower and casting or whatnot. So if with a 10-foot beam on that, you must have plenty of room for people to move around and cast.
It's amazing. I've got a client that comes with me all the time, and I've got the rocket launchers in the back and the T-top, and also in the on the seats, I got rocket launchers there, and they're full of rods. And I had a guy doing overhand casts out of the back of the boat all day and never snagged anything.
Yeah,
so the boat's just big enough. There's enough space. It's been an absolute weapon for me in the bay.
For sure. So I asked you this beforehand tonight, but if you could have one other boat for that area, if you could have 2 boats, and everyone needs 5, but if you could only have 2, what would be your 2 choices? What do you think what can you not unlock with that boat that might be something else that you would look to have? So
although the Sea Hunter does a lot, and on the big end of things, it covers everything that the bay could throw at me, unless there's a storm with a name on it. Yeah. I can get into about 18 inches of water and fish that with the trolling motor and jack plate up, but I really like that skinny water and the type of fishing you guys do down there. So if I had another boat, it'd be a smaller one, maybe a pulling skiff, something I can get in real skinny.
Yeah, for sure.
They're there.
They're fun boats.
There's fish.
They're scary boats in big water like that. They can be. You learn what shorelines you can hug for sure when the wind blows.
Right.
That's one of the nice things about it.
Yeah, I mean, in the bay, something like that, if you don't live right on those islands or those marshes, you almost have to tow the boat over there.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It's just not. I mean, there's people that do it in these tiny boats, and I look at them like, man, you're crazy.
Yeah.
The bay's an animal.
For sure. So what fish do you see yourself, not see yourself, you already do it, but what fish do you target up there, throughout the seasons? Kind of walk me through your seasons, walk me through your fishery a little bit.
Yeah, so it really...
Actually, before you even do that, share with people exactly where you are in the bay. So as we're talking about this, they know where you are.
Okay, so I'm about 20 minutes by land south of Annapolis, near Deal or Chesapeake Beach are some names that you might recognize. Cool. I'm on the western shore, and I fish a lot on the eastern shore. We have range. That's another thing I love about that boat. I can go wherever I need to go, as far as I need to go, and we'll get there comfortably and fast. So up here, especially this year with fuel prices, I'm staying pretty local. Sometimes I'll venture down into Virginia, but this year and the last few years, I really focused on my area and being able to crack the codes around here. So I'm going to start in December because that's really when we start getting migratory striped bass. We start getting huge striped bass in the bay, and they're kind of migrating up, kind of in a pre-spawn, just hanging out until the water temperatures get to the right level for them to do their business and leave, which is in late April or May. So basically from December through May, we've got some huge stripers in here. This year we got them up to 50.5 inches. Typical fish is probably 45, 48 inches. And that's tons of fun. I tell my clients, sometimes they're schooled up when they're coming in, but then they spread out and they start to hide a little bit. But when they're coming in December, it's a great time. We can get them on top water and in big schools. Get fun. Big waves of them.
That's super fun. Those big striped bass, where do those end up spawning?
They go up into the rivers here in the Chesapeake Bay. So cool. They'll end up going pretty far up into the rivers. And
getting up into that rocky stuff.
Well, we don't have a whole lot of rocky stuff anymore. Chesapeake Bay is a lot of mud.
Yeah.
But yeah, they do go. They'll go up into the Potomac River where there are rocky stuff.
Yeah.
And you'll see them on the eastern shore rivers and the shallows, the Susquehanna Flats. It's pretty cool. There's a lot of videos out there showing these just huge striped bass spawning, rolling over on the surface in these rivers.
That's cool.
Awesome.
That's super, super cool. Yeah, we see a lot of that in the Roanoke River. We've got a really good rockfish, striped bass population that comes up there to spawn, and they call them fish fights there, all the southeastern North Carolina boys. It's like when they get up on the surface, it's called a fish fight. Surprisingly, you can get them to eat a topwater sometimes. I've always thought it was weird. It's like, if you're getting it on with your lady and someone sets a cheeseburger on the bedside table, I'm going to probably wait until I'm done to have the cheeseburger as opposed to just swimming over there smoking the cheeseburger and then getting back to it. But striped bass think a little bit differently. But the good old North Carolina striped bass fish fights, rockfish fish fights are pretty fun to watch.
They're such aggressive fish. They're our main fish here in the Chesapeake Bay, and it's so much fun.
They're a fun fish. When those bigger stripers are around you, how do you find yourself targeting them?
It depends on kind of the pattern, and obviously once when they're coming in waves, and trying to really pinpoint that migration is tough. We're going out. You can get them on top water, but we're doing a lot of jigging, using a lot of stuff like, I know the guys listening won't be able to see this, but just jig heads with big Streaks XLs or paddle tails even.
Yeah. You a big Z-Man fan as far as soft plastics go?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Especially for stripers, man, because you can catch so many fish, and they got the sandpapery mouths, and they just hold up really well.
Yeah, when I've got 6 people catching fish all day long on the boat, and I don't have to re-glue or put on another plastic all day long, it's pretty incredible.
Yeah, for sure.
Saves a lot of time for me.
And a lot of money.
So, that's right.
A lot of money.
I remember last year I had a lure that somehow made it all year. And it was the same plastic, the same GI jig head, everything.
That's incredible.
And I could use it right now, but I think I hung it up because it deserves its own display there.
Yeah, for sure. It made it through the battle. What's your kind of
survive?
What's your tackle scenario on that boat? Are you taking tackle bags on the boat every day? Do you kind of have spots on the boat with all your stuff organized?
Yeah, this boat it's awesome. The organization they have on there for tackle storage. I've got everything on the boat. I've got a mini tackle shop in my basement that I kind of just use to restock the boat. But the boat's got at least 2 bags of every plastic that I need, and all my jig heads. I've got a box full of jig heads right here, just loaded,
ready to rock.
And yeah, because if one thing's working, and I got 6 guys on the boat. If one thing's working, everybody's looking at me and they want that one lure, and we're going to do it. I'm going to make sure I can give everybody that thing that's working.
It's tough, man, and sometimes I feel like that happens to me where like it seems that one thing's working, but it's more so the retrieve or blah, blah, blah. It doesn't happen always, but then it's like, and whenever that happens, I know it's not the one thing. I know it's, but I won't have another one of those. And so it looks like it's good to have an extra bag of everything. That's for sure.
But, it's all in their head, too.
It is.
Once they know they're going to catch because they got the right lure on, it's over.
They're going to start catching.
And that's kind of what I do. When I see one guy's out catching someone else, we look at his presentation first.
Yeah.
And say, okay, this guy's got a real quick twitch with a slow retrieve. We're gonna get everybody to start doing that.
It's funny how stripers can be so dialed on like a certain twitch or pop or let a fall or whatnot. More so than even trout for me. A lot of times those stripers can be that way.
They're finicky, man. They can be finicky. I mean, sometimes you can stomp beer cans and just throw anything at them. Throw the can with a hook on it and they'll eat it.
Yeah.
But I mean, here lately even it's been tough, really tough. I mean, it's got to be dialed in.
Yeah. Which makes it fun. I feel like it makes you a better angler when you've got to work to figure that out and add something to your arsenal, new piece of knowledge on the water. But it is very nice, too, when they just will eat whatever you throw at them and they're on the surface and everyone can see where to cast and you don't have to talk about it. It's just like, all right, just keep catching them, keep catching them, keep catching them. It's never like this. Keep going. Those are the days we hope for.
I enjoy the days that are tough, but not all clients do.
Yeah, that's very true. The days that are tough that you don't even have to catch them well, but that you learned something big time that was pivotal for you, those are the best days in the water. Whether you struggle, figure something out and catch them good, struggle, never catch them, but you figure something out that you're like, oh, shoot, this is awesome. This is what I was doing wrong. This is what I need to be doing. Those days are, as a guide, I feel like what we live for is big learning moments like that. Yeah, and just any seasoned angler that might be listening is those days where you're like, holy crap, I just, like you said, like cracking the code. You figure out something, you're like, no one else is doing this. This is sweet. So
it feels so good. It's so sweet that everything down to the color or size of jig head to slow the fall down. You could put a skirt on to slow the fall down. Yeah. I mean, so much goes into really getting that right presentation.
For sure.
Anyway, back to my season.
Yeah, we're just gonna ease through them real slow like this.
We're rambling. Hey, I love it. So, May, those fish, they've done their business. The striped bass, they're heading out of the bay. And we can get them. They open up a trophy season here, which 15 days, and all the big charters go out and put planer boards out 300 feet on the side of their boat and sweep the bay for these big fish. We can still go out and get them jigging. And we actually placed second in a tournament, caught a 48-inch rockfish in the tournament the other day and placed second in that. But right in May, they really start to disappear, and that's when water temps start warming up and we start getting a lot more action out of our resident fish, the schoolies. Fish up to mid-30s is probably about as good as it gets. But a 25-inch striper is pretty. We get them. I mean, that's pretty much what we got.
Yeah. That's a fun fish, man. That's kind of we have the big fish here. Very hard to catch, very rare to catch, and it seems they come in, spawn super quick, and leave our rivers. But those 30-inch to 33-inch fish are kind of like that's a trophy fish, and you see a dozen every year caught that are that over 40 to 50 inches, but Nothing like you see up there in the bay, but well, people listening that might be fishing your area, maybe stress for a second the importance of striper care maybe in warmer water, because we were talking last night, I know we talked about a lot of fatality based off of mishandling or abuse in warm water.
Absolutely. So it's one of my things is, when the water temps warm up July, I pretty much leave the stripers alone. They are not tolerant to warm water and warm air temps. So catch and release is really hard on them. We see it's a sickening amount of floating fish in the summertime from guys out targeting them. And they're always you could keep a 19-inch fish, so you're seeing the 18-inch fish floating, which is just a shame. So I always leave them in the water. I try to leave every fish in the water unless we're taking a picture. If we're doing catch and release, pull it out real quick, take a picture, and throw it right back. But yeah, starting in July, I really start to focus on stuff coming up, warm weather fish coming up from the bottom of the bay, coming from your way out of the ocean, which is Spanish mackerel, bluefish, speckled trout. We're starting to see a lot of speckled trout, and bull reds and cobia. Some great stuff we get into.
Heck yeah! What is what's your fish that you would like to target if you got a day off, and any of those fish can be best day you can have? What are you going after?
Bull reds.
100%. Right on.
It's part of it's a fishery, and I'm crazy for those fish. They pull hard. They're pretty dumb. So if you find them, they're gonna eat, and it's a good time. And our fishery's just gotten better. And like I said, up here in Maryland waters, I've been working really hard to crack the code for bull reds.
Yeah.
Down further south in the bay, you could see them just sunning themselves, or you'll see them in whitewater for acres, but just blitzes. But up here, we don't see that quite as often, but they are here. They just don't show themselves quite as much.
They kind of break away from that. I feel like when you see fish wadded up like that, they're moving or staging for something. They're either moving to an area or they're staging for a specific event, like a spawn or a migration. And when you get them broken up, they're living there. They're venturing around, spending time there. They're not trying to go anywhere else. They're content, which is a pretty good way to have fish, because it means they can be reliable in specific areas, and you can go back and catch them over and over again. Is that something that you see happening up there for your bull red fishing?
Yeah, so I find it now I can be more reliable and consistent up here, even though there's probably not as many bull reds. It's just the way I can target them, and I just know they'll be there.
Yeah.
When they're all together, you really have to hit the lottery and really find them. It's a lot of water you got to cover. But here, when they're spread out, I know they're going to be in multiple areas, and if the water's not right or tide's not right in one area, current would just keep on moving, and eventually we're going to find them.
For sure. Are you if you're not throwing like a topwater, are you pretty much always throwing like a jig and a soft plastic, or do you find yourself fishing many hard baits, jerk baits, or twitch baits, or anything like that?
Very rarely. Sometimes in shallow water, we'll throw. I got here like a Yozuri twitch bait, slow sinking twitch bait, and we won a tournament last year with that.
Nice.
With that lure, but we're talking shallow water.
Right.
When we're in deep water, I'd say 7 feet and more, we're usually jigging, or topwater, because sometimes we see blitzes.
Yeah.
For the bull reds, I do a lot of jigging. You can throw out. I'll throw out the big diesel minnows, and they will eat those things right as soon as they hit the water, and if you're in the right spot. Sometimes you'll see them on the sonar, and you can drop down and jig at them. And a lot of the times they're below all the other action. So throwing a large bait out, getting down below all the feeding frenzy up top, you'll find the big bull reds down there.
Heck yeah. Do you find yourself relying pretty heavily for your stripers and your redfish on your electronics? Is that something that you're paying a lot of attention to?
100%. Especially for, for bull reds down further south, 100%. If you don't see them on top, I'll run my side scan out even 250 feet, and those big schools, you can't miss them.
Yeah.
So we kind of sweep the bay that way, run the ledges. Up here for bull reds, you will see them, but since they're not as concentrated, you kind of just have to know they're there.
For sure.
And really know where to look and just go after them. We will mark them, but not as often. So just knowing they're there and knowing where to throw, where to look is key. For stripers, that's the game. I mean, when we get in shallow, obviously you're looking at points, current, and special areas like that, structure. But I generally, unless I see something really good on my sonar or side scan, I'm not stopping.
Yeah. I got a good buddy of mine that has fished a lot of that stuff and grew up fishing more north in the bay and out on the coast. And he is so dialed on his electronics because he's striper fished for so long. And it really pays off, and he's able to fish down here differently than a lot of other people and target and catch fish in areas that people weren't really doing it. Now we're starting to see a lot of other people doing that as well too, because he's a YouTuber and people kind of pay attention to what he's doing and we'll go fish his stuff. But it's cool to see how those electronics can really pay off when you know how to use them in the correct way. Is there a magic depth that you're finding those big redfish in? Are you looking? Is depth important to you, or is it more so bait and bird activity?
It's bait. They are usually in, they're not really in really deep water. I would say 40 to 15 feet is usually where I find them. And I'm really just looking for fishy water that's got some activity. If I've got a ton of menhaden up here, we could just see them rolling on the surface. I'm not going to pass that up.
Yeah.
There might not be actively fish feeding on that you can see, but if there's bait on the surface, I'm never passing it.
Yeah.
Blitzes, we get a lot of bluefish and Spanish mackerel jumping out of the water, even stripers mixed in the summer. I'm also not going to pass that up. If I see action, those bull reds are just magnets to any kind of action. They're there.
Yeah, that's cool. That's interesting for sure, because I feel like that's something that I could maybe apply down here as well to some of our stuff in the spring and fall when we do have those fish around in the southeastern part of the state. I mean, we have some around all year, but in good numbers as they're pushing through. Probably coming up to you. Oh, excuse me, that came out of nowhere. But it makes me want to swim a bigger swim bait underneath them, and I do that a good bit. We'll have menhaden schools coming up the beach. I'll go throw a swim bait and swim underneath them, or if I'm bait fishing, I'll flip a menhaden on a Carolina rig out in front of that school of pogies on the bottom, and I'll flip one on a float out in front of that school of pogies on the top, and just sit there for really just 2 minutes. Let that school of pogies push through where my baits are. If I don't get bit, I'll run around, maybe do it one more time, then run to the next school of pogies. And that's been an interesting way to catch some fish. You get sharked quite a bit doing that, but cobia and redfish will pull off on there.
We don't have that problem up here.
No sharks up there? Well, dude, if everything else is coming, you just wait. You're going to eat your words here soon. You're going to have some big old freaking bull sharks and black tips up there.
We got global warming or whatever it is. It just keeps getting better with these warm water fish up here, but hopefully the sharks will stay away. They're here. I mean, they catch them in the nets, but we don't really have taxman problems or any of that type of stuff.
Not having to pay the piper to catch a few striper. Oh, that rhymed. No. That was pretty good. Pay the piper to catch a few striper.
We do have we got dolphin and porpoises up here that'll. I mean, I was fishing a shallow water spot in 2 feet of water the other day, and a pod came through and just destroyed the fish we were catching. I mean, they were flying out of the water. So
stripers.
Yeah,
that's funny.
Yep.
That happens with our redfish and trout as well. It sucks when you're like, it happened to me this spring one time. I had this really good school of fish in an area. The tide was perfect. It was a little bit of a run out of the way to go to this group of fish, but I was like, no one else knows about these fish. I'm going to run up there. Had a really good fly client of mine, was talking it up, which you should never do. You never say anything about how good it's going to be. and I know that, but still, everyone does. You get too excited and you share stuff that you shouldn't share. And we get up there, and there's like 30 dolphins on that bank just smoking the redfish and chasing them all over the place. So I just ran up there on plane. I was like 1.5 feet, 2 feet of water, and just chased the dolphins off. And then I like set off the school of redfish for like 45 minutes and was like the guardian of the redfish. Every time a dolphin would like try to come back up, I'd idle over and run them off. And then we went over and tried to fish the poor redfish, and they were like, they would hear a little splash on the boat and freak out, man. I was like, all right, we're going to leave these alone.
Oh, I bet.
And as soon as we idled out of this bay, we look back and there's dolphins cruising back over there. It's like once they figure out where those fish are shallow, they take advantage of it for sure. So.
I've seen it. I was fishing down in Charleston a couple of years ago, and I couldn't believe how far up this creek the dolphins were just demolishing redfish.
Yeah. They're impressive fish, man. They're really, really good hunters, and they probably deserve the redfish more than we do. We're the ones that really put a hurting on them, but it is cool to see those dolphins hunt. It really is. So your redfish, you're looking for that action. You're throwing a jig in there, kind of trying to cover every part of the water column. What's the shallowest that you've caught those big redfish up there?
Up my way, not very shallow. But you get down right now, actually, down towards the islands and everything. They're catching them in just a few feet of water because we got crabs shedding.
Yeah.
And they are up there in the grass beds just tearing them up.
That's awesome.
So
the islands, are you referring to like Tangier? What's that other island north of Tangier called?
You got Tangier, Bloodsworth, Smith Island.
Smith, that's what I was That's cool. That's beautiful stuff, man. Aerial photos of that really look like you zoom in, like if you ask someone that didn't know, they would probably tell you that was Islamorada, Florida. You know, it's just clear water. I mean, I'm guessing it can probably get dirty, but some of the stuff just looks super clear. Lots of eelgrass, lots of habitat. It's pretty neat.
There's a lot more of that over there because it's just not as it's not as built up as it is over here on the Western Shore.
Yeah.
So when you get away from civilization over on the Eastern Shore, it's a whole different world. We've got grasses in the water. We got oysters starting to look a little more like it should.
For sure. For sure.
So I find myself going over that way a lot.
Heck yeah. Well, we've got so many trout geeks that like to listen to this podcast, as well as myself, people that like catching speckled trout. First off, what's a big speckled trout in your area? Like guys that are really die hard about catching bigger trout, what is the bigger size trout you're seeing them catch per year?
We get big trout.
You get big trout?
Yeah, we get 30-inch trout.
That's awesome.
Up here. And sometimes in the winter, they'll get stuck in areas where they just get pounded. Warm water areas where they get stuck, they just can't get out, and probably they're gonna die.
Yeah.
When it gets cold. So we'll go catch those. A lot of PPs that time of year for trout.
That's awesome.
Up here. But right now we can target them very similar to the way you guys do. Just shallow water structure, grasses, grass beds. It's fun fishery. I love fishing for trout.
Heck yeah.
I love the tactical shallow water stuff.
I like how techie trout can be. You know, like just because they're sitting there doesn't mean they're going to eat what you're throwing at them. You got to kind of figure them out. And, angle can be very important. Color of bait can be very important. Type of bait, hard bait, soft plastic, top water. There's a code to crack with those jokers every single day, it seems.
Yeah, when I go out, I've got the more anglers the better, but everybody's throwing something different to start with.
Yeah.
Everybody's got a different color, different weight. Somebody's got a top water. Always somebody has a top water. And we figure out what's working.
What's your top water of choice up there? For trout, redfish, anything? Maybe not big fish. Let's talk like your shallow water top water of choice, and then maybe your deep water top water of choice.
The one knocker.
The one knocker. Man, you're man after my own heart right there.
The one knocker. And if I'm going bigger, the Chug and Spook.
Okay.
Right here.
Yep.
It actually is a one knocker.
Just a little cup up front?
Yeah, it's just got a little cup up front. It's a little bit bigger than the one knocker. So for bigger stripers, it works really well. The one knocker, obviously, for like trout and smaller puppy drum is fire, but I like to throw something a little bit bigger. And then we've got some there's Stillwater Smackets,
Okay.
which are chugging, more of a popper. And when we got rough water, that's what I'll throw.
For sure.
But that deep sound of the one knocker, I think it calls those fish in.
It's a good sound. It's my favorite sound to hear in the topwater. Have you played around with wake baits up there much at all yet?
No.
It's taken off down here for sure, but
I've heard you guys talk about it, and I'm pretty sure I put them in my cart somewhere online after hearing you guys talk about them. Never pulled the trigger, but
we'll go to Tackle Warehouse because they've got a lot of like bigger profile wake baits, and just like most things, they were born in the bass world. Somebody built a crankbait probably with the lip a little bit too straight down, and they're like, this thing doesn't dive, and they're reeling it in and it gets smoked by a bass on the surface. They're like, well, it doesn't need to dive. We'll just fish on the surface. But really awesome for clients that might be struggling to work a topwater. And stripers are a little more forgiving. I feel like a lot of times, at least schoolies, you can kind of work a topwater a little sloppy and they'll eat it. But that wake bait is pretty sick. And especially for puppy drum and redfish, the way that they eat a wake bait, like I feel like a spook or like a walk the dog plug, a lot of times they come from the side and eat it, which is super cool. But almost every time I have one eat a wake bait, it's from behind, and they like surge up behind it and like push a wake off their forehead and just suck it off the surface. For some reason, they like to eat that bait that way. But it's a really good bait for somebody that might not have that rhythm down for a plug. Same with a chugging bait. But do you have much luck on the redfish with the bait that you're chugging? The big ones, yes, but the little puppy drum slot redfish, for some reason, they do not like poppers for me, unless it's like a small popper on the fly rod or something like that.
No, and really with the small redfish, I just throw a lot of paddle tails.
Yeah.
A lot of
slow rolling.
Diesel minnows. Yep.
Yeah.
Just slow rolling. I'll throw a gold or silver spoon out there too, but the paddle tail, man, it catches everything in the bay.
It does.
So and you can change the color so easily to match the watercolor and clarity, which is huge here because a rainstorm will dirty this water up quick, and then you got to put something on that's just a little bit darker.
For sure. Spinner baits, chatter baits. Have you thrown many of those?
Yeah, for perch.
For perch, nice.
Not really for anything bigger. There's a couple guys I know that'll put one of those little spinners underneath their paddle tail or something.
Yeah.
But I think the thump of just the paddle tail does enough. That's
sweet. The spinnerbait is a good search bait for us for the redfish down here at Puppy Drum. And I will say, and this is just me sharing things I've seen, Louisiana, we used to catch them with a popping cork really good down there. Pressure got real heavy. They stopped eating the popping cork as well. They still ate it, but I mean, you'd go from, if you went and a lot of times what we do is we'd roll up to a pond to go fly fish and fish it, and you just throw a cork at the mouth of this little pond creek mouth twice real quick before you go up in there. It's like 8 feet deep, and you usually catch a redfish right there. They stopped eating those, and we started fishing big chatterbaits, just slow rolling them mid-water column on the bottom. And dude, you're like just slow rolling this big chatterbait and just get tanked by a big old 30, 40, 50-inch redfish. They key into that, and dude, when a fish eats a chatterbait, it's like this. I think it's similar to the wake bait because it feels like what a wake bait eat looks like, in the sense that they come from behind and they like overcome the speed of that bait, and so all of a sudden it's like chattering, and then you just feel nothing, and then you just feel just jerking back. It's a cool bite. A lot of times it's like I'd have clients that are like, I don't know what my bait's not. Whoa, and the fish is taking off. They think something's messed up, but that's one to try. Try getting some big old heavy chatterbaits. Yeah, they're cool baits.
I'm gonna get some. And I think redfish love doing that, especially the bulls. You hook them, and then you feel nothing.
Yeah.
You get that thump, then you'll feel nothing. We call it the thump and dump over here, by the way.
The thump and dump. I like it.
Thump and dump, because you get that thump, and then it just starts dumping line. We use pretty light tackle on them, enough to get them in because we're going to release them.
Right.
We don't wear them out too much, but like a 5,000 Vanford is what I use, Shimano Vanford.
Yeah.
But a lot of times you'll just see that line ripping across the water heading straight towards the boat. And I just tell my clients, stick that rod down underneath the boat because he's going under and he's going to start ripping drag.
Yeah, that's awesome. They're rod breakers for sure for that reason. They'll run at the boat and then people they hold their rod out and it just snaps that rod on the gunnel. But
yeah,
what are you going to do? You can't win them all, that's for sure.
They try to punk you all the time. They're smart.
They are smart fish, man. Well, hopefully some people, I feel like quite a few people that listen from that area, not your exact area, but up that fish that water or want to fish that water near you. So hopefully some people that have heard this will hop on the boat with you and catch some big redfish. Before we wrap this up, share with people and it's going to be linked in all the show notes and everything. I've had it here on the lower third for the video, for those of y'all watching the video, the Instagram handle and everything. But tell people your business, your Instagram, how they can get up with you if they want to come out and do some fishing.
So definitely, you can hit me up on Instagram, Griffin's Guide Service, with the underscores in between. Facebook, we're pretty active on Facebook too. My website, easy way to contact me, griffinsguideservice.com. And obviously, you're going to link everything. Get in touch with me. I'm pretty quick to get back as long as I'm not on the water. And I definitely hit the emails and phone calls as soon as I get off the water.
For sure.
And as far as business-wise, yeah, we're just trying to put together a quality experience. Catching fish is the easy part out here. So comfort, being able to go wherever we need to go, showing everybody a good experience. Part of that, we offer some lodging. Got a full apartment that we put together because I ended up getting so many out-of-state clients.
Yeah.
And they were looking for places to stay, and I had this awesome place that is much better than a hotel, and it's right here. We don't have as many hotels down where I'm at when you get a little bit further away from Annapolis. So it's convenient. You could jump in the truck with me. It's just one or two guys, or follow me down to the boat ramp, and we'll go fishing, and we'll hang out when we get back. Heck
yeah. Well, man, thank you so much for hopping on the podcast, and really hope to get up there and fish with you sometime. Definitely going to record another podcast. Maybe have you on this winter, talk about jigging big stripers in the wintertime, which would be, I feel like, very popular. And that's really what I want to come up there and do with you, is come jig some big stripers in the winter.
Let's do it.
It'll be just long enough past. We got another baby coming pretty soon that I might be able to sneak away for a little bit. So we'll stay in touch for sure. I'll have to get you down here and do some fishing as well.
Yeah, I feel like we didn't touch a quarter of it, not even maybe 1% of what we got up here. There's so much going on in the bay. It's such a diverse fishery. You can go anywhere and just pretty much do whatever you want with all those fish that I named.
Yeah, I mean, that's the cool thing, and that's why I really wanted to showcase that, because from where I am, I mean, I know so many people that are up in your area a lot for work and traveling through that neck of the woods, if you will. And it's for me a pretty unknown section of the bay and a fishery that I don't know much about. So getting a good broad overview on this first podcast was nice, and would love to definitely, as the seasons change, get you back on, talk, specifics, tactics, stuff like that, the stuff that we can geek out about a little bit.
Absolutely. I love it. I'm a nerd. I just really geek out about everything and trying to crack that code, right?
Yeah, it's funny, man. Us fishing nerds, I feel like, spend more money on fishing than non-fishing nerds. It sucks, but it's part of being a nerd, I guess.
But hey, it works, man. It pays off big sometimes.
It does. It can, for sure. It definitely can. Well, man, thank you for coming on, and look forward to chatting soon. And everyone, thanks for checking out the podcast. We will see y'all next week. Later.